Hello, hello. Welcome to Crime in Court. My name is Heather, and this is an update in the Sandra Birchmore case. So, there are a couple things going on that I want to go over with you guys. Just a couple quick little updates. As you can see from the thumbnail, this episode is titled Heels Lies, Farwell's Hearing, and a Visit from the Feds. So, those are exactly the three things we're going to talk about. Some lies that might have happened or might have been told by Josh Heel, the Abington police officer. He was a Stoughton animal control officer before he went to Abington, and what he might have lied about regarding his relations with Sandra Birchmore. Then we're going to talk about Matthew Farwell's hearing, which was canceled, rescheduled, and also canceled. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about a visit from the feds. So let's get into it. Please hit that like button. This is hopefully going to be a short update, and we'll go through these topics quickly. So this article came out from Boston 25 News, September 20th. I don't think I've done an update on Sandra Birchmore because it's been slow news wise. So this article is by Ted Daniel, and he says an audio recording obtained by 25 Investigates reveals what former Abington Police Chief David Del Papa knew about one of his officers, Josh Heel, months before the officer's name was leaked in an explosive report about the manipulation and the grooming of Sandra Birchmore by members of the Stoughton PD. The recording, which was never supposed to be released publicly, is from a review the Abington PD conducted about Del Papa's handling of the information provided to him about Josh Heel, who was serving in the Abington School Resource Officer at the time. Heel met Birchmore when she was a young adult, so not a minor, in his prior role as the Stoughton Police Animal Control Officer. Stoughton Deputy Police Chief Robert Holmes first contacted Del Papa in December 2021 to tell him about an internal affairs investigation Stoughton had launched into text messages that Massachusetts State Police detectives pulled from Sandra Birchmore's mobile phone after she was found deceased in her Canton apartment in February 2021. State police assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, hello, Michael Morrissey, initially ruled Sandra Birchmore's cause of death as a self-inflicted, self-deletion. However, in August, federal authorities charged former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell with taking Sandra Birchmore's life and staging the scene to make it look like she hung herself. Farwell first met Birchmore when she was 13 years old and a participant in the Stoughton Police Explorers program, which teaches young or taught. I don't believe it's still in play. It taught young people, or maybe it is. I don't know. Anybody know? Do they still have? I think they ceased it. They stopped it at Stoughton Police Department, but I'm sure that there are still programs out there like this in um, other police departments because we did an episode on that where we talked about the fact that the post programs or the Explorer programs were created by Boy Scouts of America, which is also breeding grounds for grooming and essaying children. So it's no wonder that this might be prevalent in these Explorers programs as well. So anyways, these Explorers programs are supposed to teach young children and young adults. I think the program usually goes from like ages 13 to 21 or 20 or something like that. So it's supposed to teach people about law enforcement jobs in law enforcement and, what those might entail. So Deputy Holmes told me, this is according to Del Papa, told me that Heel and the deceased woman were friends and that they had texted quite frequently. I believe it was daily. There was a lot of digital information. He said he was hoping that Josh Heel would help them connect the dots. Del Papa is adamant in his accounting that Holmes initially told him that Heel was only a witness in the Stoughton investigation, and he said Holmes provided him a letter stating that fact. In an early conversation, Holmes told Del Papa he would share additional information about Heel's involvement with Birchmore if Del Papa agreed to sign a non disclosure or confidentiality agreement. Del Papa says he balked at the NDA, the non disclosure, and described the request as highly unusual. Del Papa said at that point he had no concerns about Heel. Hmm. Holmes interviewed Heel 2 weeks later, but according to Del Papa, Heel ended the conversation because Heel felt like Holmes was treating him like a suspect. Maybe he should have been treated like a suspect. Del Papa ordered Heel to speak to Holmes, and a second interview took place in February 2021. Del Papa said that he still understood Heel to be a quote witness in Stoughton's investigation despite Heel's request for legal counsel. The following month, Holmes told Del Papa that Birchmore was known to have mental health issues and that Heel had received oral from Birchmore off duty when she was a young adult. Del Papa said that he was also told by Holmes that Birchmore, quote, had disclosed details about her relationships with other members of the Stoughton Police Department to Josh in explicit detail. So apparently, she was very open with Josh. She was very open with a lot of people, but apparently she told Josh everything that was going on between her and Matthew Farwell, Robert Devine, William Farwell, and maybe more. Those are the ones we know at this point in time. So Heels, there's also an army recruiter that we believe there might have been something inappropriate going on there too, but we don't have a name of that individual. Heel's attorney, Peter S. Farrell, told 25 Investigates Heel is a material witness in an ongoing federal investigation and has not been ever, and is not going to be the target of any criminal charges in the future because he has not broken any laws. That may be so, but he is also on the civil suit that Sandra Birchmore's aunt has put forth, and she's brought against the town of Stoughton, the Stoughton Police Department, Robert Devine, William Farwell, Matthew Farwell, and of course, Josh Heel. He was added on later, but he was added on. And he tried to back out, but he's still on the civil suit. So just know that. All right, so Heel's attorney, Peter S. Farrell, told 25 Investigates that he is a material witness and not broken any laws. Del Papa said he wasn't concerned about Heel's role in schools or as a police comfort dog handler at the time. Really? Del Papa told in a school? Del Papa told a town attorney Heel was married when Heel received oral from Birchmore, and extramarital affairs aren't any of my business. I really can't get involved in that. So he just didn't want to involve himself because it had to do with an extramarital affair, apparently. Kirk Minahan was the first to report extensively on Heel's involvement with Birchmore in season 2 of this highly rated podcast, The Case, which is very good. I recommend it if you haven't listened to it by now. Sorry. All right. In an interview with investigative reporter Ted Daniel at his Watertown studio, Minahan said alarm bells had gone off when Del Papa learned that Heel was being sought for information in Stoughton's then secret probe. Interesting. It seems to me, minute one, you find out you put this guy on leave until you figure stuff out, and if he's exonerated, fine, back to work. But of course, he wasn't exonerated, Minahan said. He continues, Heel has sort of gone under the radar, and he shouldn't. I think we gave Heel an episode, but we probably didn't give enough representation to what he did. That is an end quote there from Minahan. In a statement, Del Papa said Abington's review of his actions found him to be professional and diligent in his handling of Heel, and Abington's report states that Del Papa was challenged throughout the entire SPD Stoughton Police Department investigation, receiving limited information from Holmes and SPD specific to Heel. He'll continue to work in Abington schools for 6 more months until September 22nd, 2022, the day Del Papa learned from a law firm that Heel's name had been mistakenly left unredacted in a report Stoughton police were about to release to the media about Birchmore's relationship. So you get that? A report was about to be released from Stoughton PD, and his name was not redacted in it. So basically, and it had to do with this case. And so basically, Abington police, their hands were kind of tied. They didn't want the bad PD, so they were, or bad publicity. So they were like, okay, we'll probably cut ties with him. Although he still has the ability to be an officer of the law, I think, if he wants to, potentially. I don't think he's decertified. But he is working in, I want to say, National Guard now in Arizona. I think I heard that somewhere. All right, so in a statement, Del Papa said Abington's review of his actions found him to be professional and diligent of handling da 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 da. Okay, sorry, I read that. He'll continue to work in Abington schools for 6 more months. Gosh, where was I? Then he was, yeah, then he, until that press release. They wanted to give us a heads up because it's going to be a disaster. So I got off the phone, I called Josh in and told him, I think you are on admin leave. At that point, I still don't know the full breadth of Stoughton's investigation as far as one of the officers having relations with this woman when she was underage and the grooming and all that, Del Papa stated in the recording. 2 days prior, Holmes told Del Papa in a Walgreens parking lot that Heel was not credible and warned him. I don't think you want him around children, Del Papa said. He was still weighing that information when he learned that Heel's name was involved with this Stoughton report. At the Walgreens meeting, Del Papa said Holmes also revealed Josh and Miss Birchmore had texted filthy things back and forth to each other. So it wasn't just that they were friends and she confided in him. There was a very flirtatious thing going between the two of them. Who started it? We have no idea. We don't know the details of any of that, but we do know there is allegations that he received oral in exchange for a cat that he gave her from the shelter that he was working at. So there's that. At the Walgreens meeting, the Papa revealed they had these filthy texts back and forth. He said Josh tried to have relations with her friend while he was married. He said Josh was interested in the friend because she was a quote virgin. Awesome. Abington Town, he's married, by the way. This Josh Heel guy is married. I don't know if he has kids, but I know he was married at the time. Abington Town Manager Scott Lambazy told 25 Investigates Del Papa followed department policy and protocol and never learned the scope of Stoughton's findings before they became public. Quote, as a police officer and a member of the Union Civil Service, there's steps that you have to go through before you can actually put somebody on administrative leave or begin an investigation. I believe that once we actually knew the full depth and confirmation on what actually happened, we acted pretty quickly. That was Lambazy, the town manager. Heel remained on paid administrative leave until February 2023, so from September to February, when he submitted his resignation. Del Papa left Abington in May in what Lambesi described as a mutual separation from the town. Del Papa was provided a letter of recommendation, and according to his separation agreement, he will be paid through May of 2025. What? Through 2025? He's still getting paid right now. It's insane. Hmm. He's still getting paid. He's still getting paid. I don't even know what to say about that. You guys are reading the same thing, right? He will be paid through May of 2025. I say we all tweet the town of Stoughton and recommend that they cease his payments as of now. Why is he still getting paid? That is blowing my mind. Mind blown. Del Papa told 25 Investigates what happened to Sandra Birchmore was an absolute tragedy. I pray that justice is served soon and that it will provide her family with some semblance of comfort in the aftermath of this truly horrific event. Based on his research, Minahan said that Del Papa should have acted sooner. I wish my dog would sit the F down. Thank you. Good boy. I don't know how Del Papa went to work every day knowing that one of his guys who has this kind of history is walking around schools dealing with kids. Remember, he was a school resource officer. He was around minors the whole time, and he wanted a virgin. So let's just remember that. So, yeah, I think that just like Minahan said, I think Josh Heel has gotten off the hook a lot more than he should have in some regards. But there you have it. I think because there's no actual definitive proof that can connect him and Sandra at the time of when she was a minor during, having intimate conversations or whatever. I think they can't connect that. And the same with William Farwell, but they definitely did not conduct themselves as officers should, and therefore need to no longer ever be officers of the law. So, the next topic that we're going to discuss is the hearing for the ex Stoughton officer Matthew Farwell, who was accused of taking the life of Sandra Birchmore. His first hearing was canceled. Here's why. So, an upcoming hearing for Matthew Farwell, the former Stoughton, this is Boston 10, by the way, I'm switching sources because I had to. This is September 9th. This was written by Mark Fortier, or whatever, however you say their names. I'm not even gonna. And Thea, Mark and Thea. An upcoming hearing for Matthew Farwell, the former Stoughton police detective accused of grooming Sandra Birchmore as a teen and then taking her life when she became pregnant with his child as an adult, has been canceled after he agreed to remain in custody. A federal magistrate judge on Monday granted Farwell's motion for voluntary order of detention and canceled Thursday's scheduled hearing. So he had a hearing scheduled earlier in the month of September, and that got canceled. He waived his detention. He didn't, um, he wasn't going to contest his detention at this moment. So Farwell has requested, that's where I left off. Farwell has requested a voluntary order of detention without prejudice, allowing him to stay in custody while retaining his right to request a detention hearing at a later date so his attorney could have more time to work through the details of the case. There's a lot of evidence in this case from the feds, from Stoughton PD, from the internal investigations, and all of it needs to be looked at by his attorneys. So he is now scheduled to return to court for a status conference on October 17th, which, when you're watching this, it will have been yesterday for you. So I'll get to that in a minute. So Farwell is facing federal charges. We know that for the homicide of Birchmore, who was found deceased in her Canton, Massachusetts apartment in 2021. She was 3 months pregnant. Farwell is accused of strangling her and then staging her body and the apartment to make it look like she had taken her own life. Also on Monday, the judge approved a motion filed by prosecutors asking the court to enter a protective order restricting the use and dissemination of information in the case, including crime scene photos depicting Sandra Birchmore's body, autopsy photos, Birchmore's phone and laptop extractions, Birchmore's medical records, and any police reports identifying witnesses by name. Prosecutors said they don't want Farwell to be allowed to review those materials unless in the presence of his lawyer or other members of the defense team to prevent the unauthorized dissemination or distribution of this protected information, which the government believes could expose the victim or witnesses to significant safety and or privacy risks. So witnesses as well. Farwell's attorney did not object to the motion, so um, they went on with that. Um, I don't think there's anything here that's new news. So we do know the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office didn't bring charges against Farwell or the other two officers. Both have denied wrongdoing, and they are not facing charges. So William Farwell and Robert Devine are not currently facing charges. They are, however, pending charges via civil suit from Darlene Smith on behalf of Sandra Birchmore. All right, so let's move. Oh, not yet. I was going to move on to the next topic, but no. All right, so Matthew Farwell was supposed to have, like I said, was supposed to have another hearing yesterday. Well, that too, my friends, was canceled. So the initial status report and order on excludable delay, this is U.S. versus Matthew Farwell. Defendant had an initial status conference scheduled for October 17th. The parties filed a joint status report. Automatic discovery has been provided by the government and the defendant is reviewing it. Defendant requests experts disclosures and they shall be provided by the government 90 days before trial. So they will get the disclosures that they want from experts that might testify in this case. And the defendant shall provide expert disclosures 60 days before trial, and any rebuttal expert disclosures shall be made by the government 30 days before trial. So there you have kind of a schedule of how things are going to go. The case is continued to December 3rd, 2024 at 12 p.m. for an interim status conference to be held in person. The court finds that the interests of justice in this case, i.e., to allow defendant time to prepare the case for trial or other disposition, outweigh the best interests of the public and defendant for the trial within 70 days of the date of indictment. Accordingly, with the agreement of the parties, it is hereby ordered that pursuant to the provisions of a bunch of different things, the clerk of this court enter excludable time for the period from October 17th up to and including December 3rd. And there's a footnote, but there's no footnote attached, so sorry, I can't provide it. But there you have it. So they are basically the hearing is being moved to the December 3rd date, and they're giving everybody more time to review and time to start providing, or at least they gave the schedule for providing discovery for this going to trial if he intends to go to trial, which I'm assuming he probably is because he has not said that he is guilty or, confirmed that he did. He didn't confess. That's the word. He has not confessed. All right. So I wonder if he's making a deal, is what I think is probably happening behind the scenes somewhere with the feds to maybe hand over more information about other officers, perhaps, or other people in the program. I don't know, but maybe he's talking. But if he were to do a deal, the feds would want him to talk, which means they would want someone probably higher than him, if possible. Just a thought. All right, so the next topic is a visit from the feds. So, a- uh, 25 investigates Ted Daniel again. He's on top of his stuff over there at Boston 25 News. So, this article is titled Log Confirms Strangulation Expert Met with Medical Examiner About Sandra Birchmore's Loss of Life. So, this is one of those articles I need to click on the read more. Let me get rid of these other articles because. All right. So, a log confirms strangulation, like I said. Canton, Massachusetts, a visitor's log that 25 Investigates obtained through a public records request shows two Massachusetts state troopers, two people from the FBI Boston office, and a federal prosecutor were among those who attended a meeting at the medical examiner's office on August 16th, 9 days before Matthew Farwell was arrested for the homicide of Sandra Birchmore. The law enforcement officials met with Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Mindy Hall and Dr. Maria Capo Martinez, the forensic pathologist who ruled Birchmore's death as self inflicted. Dr. William Smock, a police surgeon and expert witness on strangulation, was also in attendance according to the visitor's log. The U.S. Attorney's Office hired Dr. Smock to analyze Birchmore's autopsy report and evidence collected from her Canton apartment where her body was discovered. He cited Birchmore's hyoid bone fracture, the pattern imprint injury on her chest from her necklace, the abrasions on her nose, and the broken necklace, among other evidence that led him to conclude that that the loss of her life was actually a homicide. Two sources previously told investigative reporter Ted Daniel federal authorities wanted Dr. Hull to know they disagreed with the determination that Birchmore lost her life from a hanging. State police detectives oversaw the investigation when Capo Martinez made the determination in May. Federal court documents allege Farwell strangled Birchmore and made it appear she took her own life. Birchmore was found to be at least 8 weeks pregnant. So, according to what Ted Daniels had posted on X, really quick here, this was the log, a picture of the log, I should say, that he obtained. So you can see Lieutenant John Fanning, we know him. Trooper Matt Dunn, we've heard his name before. Michelle Gamble, who is with Dr. Capo Martinez. No, who is Michelle Gamble? Not sure. Uh, Liz, somebody, is with the USAO, so the U.S. Attorney's Office. This other person, Liza, I don't know, FBI, and Bill Smock is the MD that came to say, hey, Dr. Capo Martinez, you were wrong about your findings. And then you can also see that they had blocked off a conference room for said meeting. So there's that. All right, so that is all I have for you guys.